Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about the zodiac sign Pisces and life. And yes, this does apply and pertain to the sun, moon, and ascendant. Now, first off, the thing about Pisces is they often will live their life trying to see the best in others, overlook transgressions of others. Sometimes they may be oblivious to the flaws and shortcomings of others, or they might just deliberately overlook them. They will often live their life in existence, seeing the positive in others where a lot of other people will not. They are often very forgiving. You generally, if you have a Pisces in your life, you generally are not going to have to worry about him or her being overly vengeful or vindictive or unforgiving. I think it's unequivocally the most forgiving sign of the zodiac. They are very idealistic. They are often inspirational and can actually inspire others to live their lives to the best, to the fullest, to meet their maximum potential in their life. A good example is, and I don't know if he's Pisces or an Aries, but he was born on the cusp. Pat Riley, he was a former head coach. He's now one of the big wheels, I guess you could say, with the Miami Heat. He's in some kind of executive position with them there. Anyway, he was Pat Riley. He's either Sun in Pisces or Sun in Aries, depending on time of birth. I was leaning with Pisces because he seemed very idealistic to me. I could remember there was one time when he was coaching the New York Knicks in 1992, and he was very encouraging. The Knicks were about to enter the playoff series with the Chicago Bulls, Michael Jordan. And he said something like, "Let's beat them now," meaning let's beat Chicago now, not do this slow methodical process. And they did everything but beat them. They actually made the series go to the full 7 games. But the thing about it is, Pisces as well, sadly, in some negative manifestations, can live their life with a lot of deception and duplicity. Some of you may have remembered an infamous case involving Esther Reed. She was somebody that was in that infamous case. It was shown on 48 Hours that she had stolen someone's identity. She was impersonating somebody else. Pisces is very strongly in a lot of cases about deception and duplicity. They are often, if they're committing crimes, it could be involving deception and fraud. Now, Esther Reed is a Pisces sun and moon, and she used a fake ID for a number of years in order to get admission to prestigious, illustrious colleges. It was interesting. I'm going to talk about a transit quickly. It happened with her on the day she was caught and apprehended. On the day she was caught, transit Uranus made a tight conjunction to her natal sun in Pisces. Uranus can be about disruption, the sun can be about life, and Pisces can be about illusion. This was a time where her life of illusion was disrupted. Uranus can also, I would say, could be associated with television. This was something obviously that was televised. And another thing too is that when you look at Uranus hitting one's sun, Uranus can be about groups. Well, police can come in groups. This was a group that can finally made contact with her physically over her identity, which is the sun, and fraud, which is associated with Pisces. And Uranus can also, be about sudden changes. There was a sudden change, obviously, with her life, and a life being the sun, being connected with the sun, a life of illusion, and that's Pisces. It's very interesting when people talk about astrology. These cynics and skeptics blow my mind because they constantly try to refute it with their superficial knowledge. If they could even have some fundamental understanding of even transits, they could see how very precise this isn't accurate. Now, another thing too is that many Pisces, sadly too, can get involved in drug or alcohol use. Some of you may have remembered the late prolific actor comedian Richard Pryor had a Pisces ascendant. He was heavily involved in drug use. He had used drugs excessively during a large part of his life. He even tried to light himself on fire one time, I believe, and of course, when you light yourself on fire using chemicals, chemicals can be associated with Pisces. And remember, what was his Kurt Cobain, a son in Pisces, was heavily involved in drugs. He wound up committing suicide. Suicide also is synonymous with Pisces. And the thing about Pisces is, another example, Andy Gibb. Some of you may have remembered he had been heavily involved in drugs, and I don't remember exactly how he passed away. It may have been a relapse due to the drugs. I'm not really sure, but he died at a relatively young age, like 30 or 31 years old or something. But let's go as far as during their life, Pisces can really be very good for other people's lives, and and if Pisces manifests their energy positively, they could be the quintessential rescuer. Some of you may have heard of NBA star Jimmy Butler, a Pisces moon. He could be seen as a rescuer for the NBA team, the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat in the 2018-2019 season compiled a 39-43 record. They missed the postseason, and that might have been a floundering franchise, no pun intended. Yeah, right, you're thinking. But anyway, and in this season, the 2020 season, he took them to the NBA Finals. And Pisces can be about rescuing. I remember a time very vividly when I was like maybe 12 or 13 years old, and I was at the local community pool, and I couldn't swim at the time. I started to panic, and a Pisces ascendant person actually came there. He pulled me out of the water, potentially drowning. And interesting that Pisces can be about rescuing, and they're associated with drowning as well, things associated with the sea, water. Um, and another example of rescuing is that you look at Dr. Phil McGraw, who has Pisces rising. He often will give inspiration and hope to others. You know, he says a lot of times, I want you to get excited about your life. He wants people to live their life to the fullest. And it's interesting that Pisces can be about victims. I think Pisces also can inspire others to get out of a plight that might be about self-sabotage, or could be about victimization, where you feel maybe you're the victim, whether it's by society or what have you, but it might be yourself that's inhibiting you from making progress. And Pisces will often enable you to get out of that kind of mindset in that situation. They are also, but going back to a negative side of Pisces, sadly, they can also be about lethargy and indolence, and it could be connected with them gaining weight and detract years from their life. Remember, Neptune is about body fat, and Neptune is one of the rulers of Pisces. The fat and they're ruled by Jupiter as well. Jupiter is about obesity, but another way of looking at that is that the Jupiter Neptune, the fact they're ruled by Jupiter and Neptune, is that Jupiter is about enlarging, exacerbating. In some cases, Jupiter may enlarge the body fat with Pisces, enlarging, but Neptune is connected with body fat in Pisces. But another thing, though, is that Pisces might spend a lot of their existence in their life being very altruistic and compassionate and sacrificing their time for others. The thing about Pisces is Pisces is seen, I know, it's a lot of descriptions in books, and talk about them being very passive and weak and having a lot of like negative commentary. But people have to remember that all zodiac signs have positive and negative qualities and attributes. Pisces is certainly no exception. And again, can be very compassionate, altruistic. They often sacrifice their time during their lives in helping others' lives, and they might not really tend to their own lives as a result. And this is something, and they often will not anticipate a lot of reciprocation from others in return. And the thing is, they are Pisces is they are can be very well-meaning people, but they have to be careful that their gullibility, their impressionability doesn't work to their detriment, because they could be very trusting, very gullible. They have the propensity during their lives to trust the wrong people. And what's interesting too, if you look at a solar and often in a solar or natal chart for Pisces, the zodiac sign Libra often falls on the 8th house cusp of death. Libra is the sign, of course, associated with relationships and partnerships. Pisces, of all the zodiac signs, may succumb to being involved with the wrong people. It could be to the death of them. It might result in a literal death. Pisces has to be very careful who they get involved with, more so than the other zodiac signs, I would say, on average. And remember, being a mutable sign, they are more susceptible to sudden elements of some kind of danger, or whether it could be assault or some physical harm, some negative elements, negative experiences from others, because mutable signs sadly may be more easily coerced and bullied, more so than the other zodiac signs on average, and they need to be careful of that. And anyway, in Pisces, even though they could be deceptive and duplicitous in a negative manifestation, they could be subject to somebody else being to people that are deceptive and duplicitous, and they could be the ones at times that could have, for example, have their identity taken from them, have and deal with people committing crimes on Pisces, basically. Um, Committing crimes against Pisces that are associated with deception and duplicity and fraud, so they need to be careful as far as that goes. But many Pisces live their lives, again, being very idealistic, helping people out, rescuing them in their time of need. And if Pisces is able to manifest the good qualities, they could really live their lives doing a lot for others, and making other people's lives so much better. And anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying, stay up.